Well, let me tell you a little bit about advertising, a little bit about myself. And again, let me tell you, first of all, I came from a graphics background. I started out as a graphic artist and then kind of got into the full-service ad agency. I've been in Amarillo. I was born and raised in Amarillo. When I was growing up as a kid, didn't know what I wanted to do. I was the kind of kid, remember in school, that was sketching on the school book cover, the notebook cover and all that. And they would, man, you draw good. Couldn't pass a class, but I could draw really good. Couldn't spell worth a darn, but I could draw. And so when I got out of high school, my dad at the time was flying for the airlines and said, I would like you, I'll pay for you to go to flight school if you'll be a pilot for a living. I grew up around airports. My dad was a crop duster when I was a kid. Every summer I went to work for him. I hated airports, hated airplanes, hated the smell of it, didn't want to do anything with it. I said, man, I really like to be an artist. You know, to my dad, saying you want to be an artist was kind of like saying I want to be a ballerina. You kind of look at him thinking, how are you going to make a living as an artist? And I really had no idea how to do it. And I wasn't familiar really with ad agencies, art department, anything. But at the time there was a technical school here that had a graphic arts department. I said, let me just go out there and take this course and learn about it. Because I said, well, screen printing, well, album cover design, like you're going to do a lot of album covers in Amarillo, Texas. But I really knew what I loved to do. And I'll tell you this too, today, all these sitting in here, you were telling me you're really thinking more about being a teacher. I really believe each one of us was hardwired, designed to do something. Have you ever met someone? My wife is one of those that loves to balance a checkbook or go through and find detail. I'm the kind of guy that drives me crazy. To be an accountant, I would be one of those that would just jump out of the window and fall to my death. It would be like, you gotta be kidding me. A stack of papers in front of me would drive me crazy. So that being said, even though I'm going to be talking to you about advertising, some of you today may say this was the perfect speech because I realized I don't want to do advertising. But the other's going, you know what, that really sounds like something I would love to do. And so let me tell you a little bit about what advertising is today. And boy, this industry is changing so rapidly. But really, I think every industry is changing rapidly. So we just got to learn to change with it. So like I said, good morning, come on in, we're just getting started. 30 some odd years ago, 32 years ago, I basically graduated with a degree with graphic art. And I thought, I'm going to go, and at the time, a couple of ad agencies came to our classes and spoke to us, and there was one that seemed really cool, and I thought, I'm going to go apply. Because I thought, I'll go here, and if I like it, I'll go on to WT or something, finish, get my bachelor's, and figure out what I want to do. But I went and applied at an ad agency, and ended up getting a job right out of school. So I went to work at an ad agency in the art department. And at the time, it was still before the computer, so we had the drafting tables and the T-squares and laying out ads the old-fashioned way, and all the photography. Today, it's totally changed. I mean, it's amazing what one person can do in a bedroom of a house, what it used to take 6 or 7 people to do in an office to get done. So I started out as an in an ad agency's art department. After a couple of years, I got laid off and started looking for another job. And everybody was interested, but it's like, well, we're not hiring, we want to do freelance. And, well, I really needed a regular income, but nothing was opening up, and I thought, well, I'll just do some freelance. So I was laying out ads, doing logo designs, doing little brochures here and there. And I remember my first account I ever picked up, there was a clothing store here in town. It was a pretty high-end clothing store. But I saw their ads, and I thought, man, their ads are terrible. I thought, if I could just get my foot in the door at this place, that'd be great. So I laid out, took their logo, laid out some ads, went in there to meet with the guy. The owner was there, and I said, hey, let me introduce myself. And I have a little small ad agency, and I'm doing freelance stuff. He said, well, we've already got an ad agency. And I said, I understand. I said, well, if you don't mind, I'll just leave these with you. There's some things I did, so maybe somewhere down the road. He kind of hesitated, took it from me, and he flipped the page over and looked at the layout, and he said, that's pretty good. And he started looking, and he said, what would you charge me to do this? I said, I don't know, and I quoted a price, and he said, well, come in here with me real quick. So we went to his office, he opened his filing cabinet, took out a file from his ad agency. He said, are you going to charge me for phone calls? Are you going to charge me for this? I said, no, I won't charge you for that. He said, great, you got the account. He said, also, I need a TV spot done by this time next week, or 2 weeks from now, because this is our big sell of the year. I said, well, I don't really do TV spots, I just kind of do print stuff. He said, well, you do TV spots now, because I need one. Well, at the old ad agency I worked at, I used to do storyboards for the art director. So I knew how to do a storyboard. And all the storyboard was somebody would write a script. And then when you go meet with a client, most clients are kind of lacking in the area of imagination. So you really kind of spell it out as best as you can so they'll understand what you're going to do before you go hire a model or hire a camera crew and shoot something. So we do 6 or 8 panels and it'd have kind of the copy to the side, and I'd draw little kind of stick figures in there and say, here's the person walking through the door, this is what the copy says. So I did some storyboards, took it to him, said, that's fine, get it done. So I went to a TV station, and I said, I need to, let's see, I said, I need to hire a camera crew. We went out, shot the commercials, put it together, went to the TV station. Oh, anyway, got the TV spots done. The next year for the Addy Awards, I thought I'm going to enter these spots. Ended up winning Addies for these things. So really, just kind of out of dumb luck and a little bit of talent, it all started to take off. And what I'm going to tell you, the great thing about this area, this business, is if you have an imagination and a little bit of get up and go, man, you can really make something of yourself. I'm going to kind of tell you right now, a generation that I'm seeing come up from you guys, they're not real motivated. So if you just show some motivation, man, you're already ahead of the pack. But if you've got an idea, if you've got a spark of an idea, today it's just a matter of sitting down and putting it together. What I realized is video is kind of like print. It's just in motion. So it's still, you've got to have design and creative, and all this has to work together. So I started doing a couple TV spots, started handling a few accounts, later took on a partner, you know, because he was doing the media buys, and I was doing more of the creative end. I was producing things, he was buying media, meeting with the clients. That's where the GMP came from. It was a Goslin and Pedigo, and we came together after about 16 years. Like most partnerships, we decided one of us is going to kill the other one if we don't get apart pretty soon. So we kind of went our separate ways. And I kept the agency, he took some of the clients, I kept some of the clients, and that's where I'm at today. Today, in advertising, I'll tell you this. Maybe you're sitting here, because you mentioned you like graphics, right? Anybody else kind of got a graphic background or into the art? Just the one? Some of you are just saying, I had to take this class. Some of you are saying, advertising sounds interesting. I just wanted to know what it was before I even got into it. I'll tell you this, one of the most creative people I've ever met in my life could barely draw a stick person. And that was my ex-partner. We would have creative, where we'd go in a room, sit down, we'd pick up a new client or whatever, and we'd start brainstorming. Man, the guy would come up with ideas like this, and you're like, you couldn't write them down fast enough. So even if you're not an artist, you may be a creative thinker. And I'll tell you another area in ad agency is just public relations. You know, I really thought when I went to work for an ad agency, I thought, man, the art department's got to be probably the pinnacle of the ad agency. That's the people that they all look to respect. You know what I realized? Here's the art department down here, and then there's the janitor, and then you've got everybody above that. But you want to know part of the reason I realized artists were at the low point? And I'll tell you as an equal artist, most artists are flakes. We act like little goobers. I mean, really, if you go to most art departments, we've got the ponytails and the pierced ears and the toys all over our desks, and we act like little kids. Well, most ad agencies don't want to have you have any client contact because they're thinking, I'm not going to send you out with the bank president and you look like that. So I'm speaking artist to artist. I had to start to realize if I want to be taken seriously, I got to act serious. I got to grow up, and I have to present myself in a certain way. You know, it's one thing to be hanging out with your buddies and going, hey, this is cool. But in the real business world, what you start to realize, you're dealing with a whole lot of different kinds of people. So you have to learn to package yourself. Advertising one-on-one is the number one client you're going to have is you. You got to learn how to package yourself. What's going to make me desirable to hire somebody to even hire me? How professional am I? How responsible am I? But then going out into the world and picking up clients and starting to realize, and I'll tell you why I like this business. You know, we're talking about accounting. You have a stack of paper, you sit there all day and you crunch numbers. Man, it'll drive me crazy. What I like about this is one day I'm working, doing a plumbing and heating and air place, trying to come up with a TV commercial or a print ad, or maybe a tagline. One of the campaigns we came up with years ago was, better call Scotco. And it's, you know, I don't handle Scotco anymore. That was one he took with him when he left. But you know, we were working on plumbing stuff, and we thought, nobody ever just sits around the house saying, you know what, today I'm going to just call a plumber and have him come out and just redo my pipes. It was normally when you had the, oh, you got to be kidding me. And we didn't want to say, oh crap, you better call Scotco. So we made it, better call Scotco. It worked. It's still working today. But it was just little things like that you start to realize, hey, how do we sell this? How do we package this? Today, man, I watch, you go to an airport, you go to a restaurant, look around. Everybody's just doing this. and nobody's paying attention. How hard is it to get people's attention to that? And really, in all honesty, even in social media or anywhere, how often do y'all click on the little ads to the side? Very often at all? Yeah, nobody does. It's just hard. Part of this business is learning how to get your attention, how to make you stop and say, hey, I'm talking to you. And so you learn to start being creative. You learn to simplify. One of my favorite areas to advertising in, you want to know what it is? Outdoor boards. You want to know why? Because they say on an outdoor board, you usually have about 3 to 5 seconds to get their attention. And you can probably put maybe 7 or 8 words on their tops. You know what? One of those billboards on the side of the highway, one of those big billboards, you know what they rent for a month? About $1,500 to $2,000 a month. Plus the cost, if it's a vinyl, you got to get the vinyl printed that goes on there. Plus it's usually an ad agency or somebody behind there has to do the art there and charge a billing. So every month you're paying about $2 grand a month. These smaller billboards you see around the little street corners, those are usually $500 to $600 a month. You want to know how many times I've driven by a billboard and I thought, I had no idea what that product was. And I can always tell when the client had too much involvement in that project. Because the ad agency, the creative person should have said, you can say anything you want to, you're paying for it, but if you want anybody to read it, you better back it up some and learn how to be more creative and get your point across that quick. I've got to get your attention real quick and your attention real quick, and sometimes you're flipping around, you're going, wait a minute, what did that say? It's that real quick little message. So it starts to make you think, how do I get your attention? How do I make you stop? So one day I'm working on a plumbing place, the next day I'm doing a commercial for a car dealership, the next day I just finished a project for Canadian Texas. They're trying to be recognized by the state of Texas as an art district. So they hired me to come down there and basically make a 5-minute video on the city of Canadian, all their art. Which is just, to me, it's fun. It's getting out of the office. You're going out, you've got a camera crew with you, you're shooting things, you're talking to clients. I enjoy getting out and doing things. I don't want to just be sitting behind a desk all the time. So in the advertising world, it's 1 minute it's writing a radio spot, next minute it's designing a web banner, next minute it's designing a newspaper ad, next minute it's trying to come up with a tagline or a logo or a brochure. Also, guys, if I'm talking too fast, if you want to ask a question anytime, raise your hand. I hate talking and nobody talks back. At least act like you're interested, so ask me something every once in a while. But in the meantime, I'll go ahead and show you some work I've done, and then if you see something, have a question, feel free to ask me. You know, one day I was talking to a group of people. One of the things I'm not a handyman. You know, I asked my wife, I can't fix it. I have patience, it's not my thing. First time I bust my knuckles on something, I'm irritated, frustrated, trying to make it work. So I'm not a good builder, but I tell you what, I did realize I do is I build ideas. Because I'll go meet with the client and I'll be visiting with them. And I'll say, well, we're trying to sell this and this and this. And I ask questions. Well, who's your number one target? Who are you looking to advertise? Who comes in to buy your product? Well, it's this and this and this. You know how many times I've had a meeting with a client, we've done a TV spot, he says, I love watching such and such a show. I say, the problem is you're 70 years old and you're selling products to 35-year-olds and you're assuming they're watching the same show that you're watching. So what you're doing is you're really advertising to yourself, and we need to be advertising to the person that you're trying to seek out. So you start to talk to them, you start to talk to it. And then you also say, you know, in advertising, I can't tell everybody everything about your product. But what I can do is I can tease them a little bit and say, hey, you know what, like a microwave. All of us have microwaves, don't you? When do we buy a new microwave? When normally when we go there, we usually don't go, hey, I'm going to get that microwave. I have one already, but I'm going to get another one. I can't sell you a microwave until you're ready to buy a microwave, right? But what I can do is I can keep putting that microwave in front of you and just constantly reminding you, so when the microwave does go out, you go, I know who I can call. When your plumbing goes out, I know who I'm going to call. When it's time to get a car, but I can't normally make you buy anything. I can just keep reminding you, and I can try to put it in a way that when you're ready, it's top of mind. It's branding. You know, so what we start to do in advertising, we learn how to brand something, how to make it where immediately you see it, whether it's Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whatever, you can see their colors, you can see their type style, you can see part of a letter for Coke and just a little bit of that red, and most of you can say, that's Coke. Well, you didn't even see it. They've branded that so well, I recognize that brand. And so we learned to start selling a product, understanding the product, and then getting in front of you guys to figure out where you're at, who we're advertising to, and how to get your attention. So here's some samples of just different kinds of work. So that's where I came up with the building ideas, is I would go listen to them, I would talk to them, and then I would come back and try to create something for them. You know, one of my biggest account right now is Happy State Bank. 30 years ago, just about, a guy walked into my office named Pat Hickman, and he said, I've got some investors and we're going to buy a little bitty bank in Happy, Texas. And I need a logo and I just need some help doing some stuff. Happy, Texas. Anybody ever driven through Happy, Texas? It's just a little bleep on the road. I mean, it's just a nothing. But they bought that little bank, and then before you know it, they opened up a little branch in Canyon, Texas. And they opened up a branch in Amarillo, Texas. Now they're going all over the state of Texas. It went from First National Bank, or First State Bank, Happy. What happened was when they started going to other markets, there was already a First State Bank. They said, we got to come up with something else. So they rebranded the product, Happy State Bank. Now, Hickman was not crazy about the name when he first heard it. He's like, who's going to take us serious? Happy State Bank? It's amazing how people latched onto that. And so we started doing their advertising. Really how the whole campaign came around is one day they were going to break ground on it where they were going to build a new building. He said, I just need a sign out there saying, you know, we're going to have a building here pretty soon. And I just put, how to phrase that? How much am I playing? Happy coming here, happy coming here, whatever. But I started playing, just putting the word happy in there. And so we thought, we got to take advantage of that name, Happy. Happy downtown, happy to serve you, happy to do that. Because how many people today, how many times you watch any TV or watch anything and see commercials for antidepressants? People just want to be happy. And I thought, man, you got a gold mine in that name. And so, but we branded it. We keep that star, we keep that type style. And you know one of the things that he really realized, and he was the genius behind this, he said, when you bank, you don't bank with a building. You don't bank with a logo. You bank with a person. And any of you that you start banking, if you ever borrow money from a bank, go get a car loan, and you deal with somebody, the next time you go back to that bank, you look for that somebody again, don't you? Because you have a relationship with them. They kind of know you, so you build up a relationship. So in all of Happy's advertising, we usually don't put any pictures of buildings, offices. We put pictures of people. And so their campaign and all the print stuff is we show their officers. And so whatever market it is, we just put those people and their names on there. And so, because what you start to realize with banks, every bank, every credit union, all these places have the same products. Checking, debit cards, it's all the same. What makes one bank different than another? It's relationships. And in that, we promote this through relationships. Keep the copy light. You know, most of us get bored anymore. Most of us have been taught, you hear a lot of copy going, yeah, whatever, we're the greatest, we're the best, everybody says that. But it's really about relationships, so we just put those on there. All their advertising always has, their TV spots, everything, it's about people. Logo designs, this is really big in what I call branding. No matter what the product is, you want to get a look for them and you want to stick with that. You know, I'm dealing with a client right now, I won't say a name since it's being recorded somewhere, but they'll hire some new person and they'll come in and they have Publisher 101 on their computer, and all of a sudden they've got a whole list of fonts and colors, and they start trying to lay out ads, send to them, say, you think we can make our ad look like that? And as an agency, you've got to politely say, that's pretty neat, but let's pull back. Here's the fonts we use, here's the colors we use. This is really more the look we use, because it's your job as an agency for continuity, for keeping that consistent, because in a world of all of us being bombarded with advertising, you want to be able to quickly look up and look back down and know that was a Brown Buick GMC or a Happy State Bank or a Tri-State Fair, whatever it is, you want to know that. So here are some logos I've done for different companies, and I try to keep it clean and simple and artsy to some degree. I mean, you want it to have some fun, to be different, to set apart. So whether it's a law firm over here, or the Civic Center, or a gear company, whatever it is, we give that look and that style and that branding to them. So sometimes you're saying, well, I'm not an artist. No, but you'll be meeting with the client, or you'll be, in another area, you'll sit down with the artist, you'll come back. If you're an account executive in an ad agency, an account executive is the one who goes out to the client, meets with the client, takes the notes, comes back, says, okay, here's our budget for this quarter, here's what we're needing, we're gonna need a brochure, we need to update their website, we're gonna need to get some videos produced to go up on YouTube and also to run on TV. And so you've kind of got the dollar amounts, and you also know the client, you get a feel for the client, and you're saying, I can tell you right now, because there's times I've done something, or another artist has worked for me, he's done something, and I'm thinking, I'm not taking that to the client. I know the client well enough to know he's going to laugh me out of the office because that's not his style or his look. So you build up that rapport, but you also have to learn to work with artists and management, and billing, and everybody else. So that's your job. So you come back, you might have a creative where it's the account executive, a couple of artists, whoever, all sitting in the room brainstorming over this, coming up with the look and a feel for it. Let's see here. Outdoor musical drama Texas. Again, we wanted to keep bright colors. This was a TV commercial we did for Lubbock branch of Happy State Bank, so I'll just pull it up and let you see it. I don't hear anything.
There's a little knob up here, Terry.
Part of why Lubbock is growing like it is. As we loan money back in the community, that's creating jobs and sustaining jobs, and that is a big part of why Lubbock is growing like it is. Every place you look, there's activity, there's construction, there's people moving to Lubbock. It's because banks like Happy State Bank are making loans and committed back into the community, and we're making it happen. Really excited to be part of Lubbock's growth.
So maybe it's a 30-second spot for a bank. You may say, that's not that exciting. It's a type of product you have to learn to sell. So sometimes you get to be more creative. Sometimes it's just a personality, a person. This was a video we did for the Amarillo, Texas, because they were going to get an arts district thing. So this was a video. It was kind of fun to shoot, and it's not going to play. Let's try it. different types of things you can get involved with. Again, when they presented that to the state of Texas, many of these cities will try to go before the state of Texas to get recognized as art district. Most of them never make it the first time. You can make a video up to 5 minutes. You know, you don't want to just have somebody sit in front of a camera and say, this is why I think you should do this, but we want to make it fun, we want to make it clean, show a lot of activity, and I'm glad to say they got it the first time out, so we were happy for them. So sometimes it's a video, you know, laying out magazines, designing magazines. Let's see, these were different billboards for the Tri-State Fair. Again, keep it clean, keep it simple, you're driving down the road. You know, most of us, rides and food, we think of it, how many of us go to the fair just to go get a corn dog, go have it? You know, you don't have to oversell it, just make it clean, simple, get their attention. They're driving by, the date, when it's coming, that kind of, just get it out there, get it before them. This was for the tourism for Amarillo. We do a lot of stuff for the Amarillo Convention and Visitors Council, so these were magazine ads, just showing stuff from around here. It's kind of hard to see there, I can't zoom in on it. To tell them this again, being able to help brand, help a product, help a client brand their products. So everything from designing the sides of their trucks to when you walk in, the refreshments, you know, you get to see where you plow this. So it's a billboard. So it's fun to get to do all these different things from print to you name it. This was for an adoption agency.
It was funny growing up. People would always tell me I looked just like my dad, and we'd just look at each other and grin. I have a lot of my mom's mannerisms. We laugh all the time. I'm a very close family. I was adopted. Yes, I know my real birth mother, and she's proud of me. I'm real proud of her. I'm real proud of her.
This was a car dealership I handle, so you've probably seen this, but we again branding it with the spokesperson you see over and over again.
We all like a clean car, but clean doesn't always translate into dependable. That's why it's nice when you buy a pre-owned vehicle, you buy from somebody you know, somebody like Brown, Amarillo's oldest locally owned dealership. We have pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs that are Brown certified, and many still under factory warranty. Spend your vacation going down the road, not on the side of the road. Go to Brown. Click, shop, save at smallerprofit.com.
You know, even in that, in the branding of it, you know, from showing the logo to the music underneath, where you hear the jingle and the same spokesperson, it's all part of learning to brand a product. Anyway, so this kind of tells you what all we can do. Let me tell you, in different markets, there's different kinds of ad agencies. In Amarillo, Texas, what I'm starting to see is ad agencies are becoming smaller, especially in smaller markets. It's sometimes 1 or 2 people, maybe 5 or 6 people, and they wear a lot of hats. And so maybe you get involved and you're thinking, I'm going to be doing just account executive work. Well, you may end up getting to do something else too. But it's really changed to the point, it's like now I can go out. Used to, when I did a TV spot, I had to go somewhere and produce that TV spot. Now I can go out and instead of videotape, they hand me a chip about the size of a quarter. I plug it into my computer, drag it onto my Mac, go into Premiere, bring everything in. I can start color correcting video. I can set the type. I can bring in the logo. I can add special effects. And for my desk today, what I used to have to go down and pay a couple $100 an hour to sit behind somebody in a control room and say, can we put a dissolve right there? Back up. Let's make a dissolve right here. I can do it in my office. So it's kind of neat in this business to constantly be learning. The scary part of it is man, there's just so many areas today to try to get your attention. So it's really competitive in this world, trying to figure out how to catch your attention, how to get a consumer's attention today. So everything from t-shirts, to coffee cups, to billboards, to TV spots, to websites, to banner ads, you name it. It's all out there. It's interesting. It's fun. You can make good money doing it if you're good at it. But like any other business, it's competitive. Learn to compete. Learn to package yourself. Learn to be on the ball. Because that's going to be in every business you go into. Anybody? Any questions?
What do you think was the most difficult part when becoming your own agency?
You know, it's funny, I was talking to a high school class a couple weeks ago, and they asked me, what's the hardest part of your job? I think part of the hardest part in advertising is learning the art of compromise. You know, especially, and I'll talk to you as an artist. Artists are we're little sensitive babies. It's like we get so proud of our work. Well, I'm not going to change that. You know, and then you can lose the client, and you think, well, at least I stood for my principles. I'm broke now, and I'm going to go out of business, but I stood for my principles. It's that fine line of learning compromise. And you want to know something I've had to learn too? Many times I've had an idea, and a client's had an idea, and I thought, you're wrong. And I went ahead and did what the client wanted, and you want to know what? The client was right. So we're all learning. So learning the art of compromise, when there's a point where you say, no, I'm not going to do that, because there are going to come points where you're saying, I don't want to put my name on that. Maybe it's too trashy, maybe it's just garbage, maybe you're thinking it's a product I don't believe in and I can't stand behind. But learning the art of compromise, learning to give and take, and that we're all learning how to be diplomatic in presenting things to the client, because bottom line is, if you own a business and I come to you and I say, well, you're stupid, we're not going to do it that way, and you're totally wrong, you're going to say, it's my business. If I want to open my car window and chunk my money out the car window, I have a right to do whatever I want to do, and they do. So you learn to be diplomatic, say, well, we can do it that way. The thing I'm worried about is we may not reach the people you want to reach. And that's something I learned real quick too, because when a campaign doesn't work, guess whose fault it is? It's the agency's fault. When the campaign does work, guess who takes benefit for it? The client. It was all their idea. They were the genius behind it. I'm thinking, it's kind of lose-lose for us, isn't it? Well, when do we win? But you do have some clients that say, we couldn't have done it without you. But it's funny because you have different kinds of clients, different kinds of products, different kinds of personalities. Really learning to work with people. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not a people person, believe it or not. I am more happy sitting behind a computer working than I am going out and visiting with clients or going to meetings. You know, you see some of these commercials sometimes when people are in meetings and their eyes are all back and they're saying, oh, I can't take this anymore. Especially stats. Anymore you go in these meetings and they're showing these Google Analytics and all this stuff, my eyes just glass over. I'm thinking, I have no idea what you're talking about. Really, my agency is really big more on the creative and production than it is on probably analyzing and figuring out where to place it. We're really big on producing and getting things done. So the art of compromise is one of the hardest things to learn. Anybody else?
How many different agencies or professionals do you use for your commercials? Because there's some people that just like do their own commercials, and you can tell the difference.
Yeah, you can. Well, I'll tell you what's changed a lot, and I'll answer your question, because with me, I don't own any camera equipment. There's an art to shooting photography, shooting video, and I've learned that. It's kind of like, I can go buy Snap-on tools, that doesn't mean I can fix my car. I can buy paintbrushes, that doesn't make me an artist. I can buy a camera, that doesn't make me know how to run a camera. So I hire good people. So when I do a TV commercial, like even at Amarillo Video or Canadian, I hire a camera guy or guys to come out and I pay them by the hour, and then I mark it up and charge it back to clients. So they're getting paid and I'm making some money off their stuff, and I'm normally there with them saying, you know what, this is kind of a cool angle, can we shoot this right here? And sometimes they even kind of give me a little GoPro, and I'm like, you know, it's probably one of those Fisher Price cameras that are going to keep you busy, but I'm shooting stuff too. But I hire people to do it. Used to, and sometimes you still do it, like I'll hire somebody to do voiceover work for me. So I can, and what's neat today is, used to I would have to call a TV station or a radio station or a production house, and then they would, you know, ship me something. Now there's so many places online, I can email somebody the script and say, can I get you to read it? What would you charge me to read this? Well, I'll charge you $50, $100. Give me a cold read on that, which means no music, just give me the voiceover. They'll shoot me back a WAV file or an MPEG file, and within an hour I've got an audio file. Then I go on, there's a lot of websites today where you can buy music beds, you can buy stock footage, you know, if you need an explosion, you can buy a fire explosion online. So you can, between shooting stuff locally and buying stuff and getting audio and getting somebody to do the voiceover, within half a day, you've got a TV spot done on your desk, and it looks really neat. I was going to go somewhere else with it. I'm trying to remember what I was going to tell you. Oh yeah, I used to, and even today, you'll see some spots you're going, that looks real amateur. You can tell somebody. The TV stations used to, if you just hired a TV station to do your production, it looked like you got the TV station to do your production. Yeah, free production if you buy some airtime with us, and it looked pretty cheesy. today, they've got these young guys working in there that are killing it. I mean, they're doing killer stuff, which is scaring me, because it's like, why do you need me anymore? My biggest competition today is not so much from other agencies, it's from kids coming out of college who still live with their mom and dad, and their parents bought them some $10,000 computer and software and camera, and they don't have to work, and they've been playing with all these filters and effects, and they'll bring in a demo reel and show me stuff, or send me their website to go look at their stuff, and I'm thinking, you did this stuff? And they're doing it for free, or they're going, I'll get it for $100, and I'm thinking, I can't even hire a camera guy for $100. So there's a lot of these kids that don't even realize how talented they are. They're out there coming up behind me that are just giving their stuff away just to get something on their demo reel. But that's what I'm saying, the industry is changing so rapidly, it's amazing. Did I answer your question? I kind of started chasing rabbits, but I mean, it can go from anywhere from just a camera guy, and then maybe, I have a mic on my desk, sometimes like Brown or somebody, Brown Buick, maybe I'll get a national spot or a pre-produced spot, and I'll leave a 5-second music bed at the end, they just need a voice cut. I might come in and say, sales good through the end of September or whatever. So sometimes I can just cut an audio line, but normally I can hire somebody to do audio, hire somebody to do the video, they give it back to me and I produce it all in-house. Hope that helped. Did you had your hand up?
Are there any laws that are affecting advertising, recent laws?
I'm trying to think what kind of, are you thinking about something in particular?
Well, one thing that I found interesting is recently they've been limiting the sort of advertising they can show to kids. Like, they can't show them anything that has too much sugar or calories.
That may be taking place, that's probably more on a national scale, and what I'm doing is more regional, local, so, I'm sure they do monitor big agencies and big corporations and, this kind of stuff, so I'm sure there are. I wouldn't know what those were because I'm doing real local kind of spots, so we're not as regulated, so I'm sorry, that I don't have any answer for you, sorry.
If a new client came to you and had like, just say a website and they wanted to get out, how would you like handle that for them?
What do you mean they want to get out, as in get more exposure?
Yeah, get more exposure.
I guess it would depend on the product, because just having a website doesn't tell you anything about them. Are they a web designer, or are they a plumbing and heating and air company, or are they a car dealership? So I guess a lot of it would depend on what the product is, because you're right, you can have the coolest website in the world, but let's face it, if you don't know it's out there, it's not like you're just going to stumble across it someday. Even getting ranked on the web anymore, getting on Google to get your website up there, it's become so competitive, buying keywords, learning how to get where somebody types in, I need a plumber, that these 3 plumbers pop up first on the Google search for local search.
Right.
So it would depend on the product of the client, so. But let's just say you were talking about, I've got a friend who's doing heating and air.
Right.
What I would say is, well, you might want to run a couple billboards and have their website on the billboard, what if it's simple enough and they can see it going by, or at least get their name out there. So if somebody comes back and Google it, their place is called, local plumber, and they type in local plumber, their website comes up. So you're right, website's really neat, but now you've got to tell people how to get to that website. So whether it's handing out business cards, whether it's buying a small ad in a local newspaper, maybe it's getting a TV spot or something out there, buying a spot and running it during the news. It would depend on what the client's budget is. If they're saying, I don't have any money, then I'd say, well, then you may write on the bathroom wall and hope somebody reads it. Good luck to you. So it would depend how much money they have.
Okay.
All right? Yes?
Okay,
Oh,
Sorry, you can go.
okay, you.
okay, I was gonna ask you, like, you said you do billboards and stuff like that, so you just design for the billboards and then you go out and hire out like Lamar or, whoever else owns the billboard, or do you just give the design to your client and they'll go do that?
It's funny because I have clients that do it several different ways. Like this one car dealership, Brown, they just use me to produce their commercials. They buy all their airtime, they place all their stuff. But normally, I'll do the placement too, and that's where agencies make a lot of money too. So is we can say, they can afford to do 5 billboards a month, and I'll go contact Burkhead or Lamar or whatever, and I'll give my client a certain pool of locations that are available. We'll say, I want that one over at 34th and Sonsi, I want this one on I-40, I want this one, and this, and so then I'll buy those boards, I'll send the art to Lamar, and if they're printed boards, Lamar prints them, puts them up, sends me a bill for the printing and the placement, I turn around, mark it up, send it to the client, they pay me, and that's where I make my money on placement too, is there's a percentage on top of that.
Because I know you can go in there, and do they, or they used to, have their own graphic design?
Art departments, yeah. Most places like Lamar do. A lot of them do, they have their own art department, so you don't even need an agency. The thing that I find that is more helpful about an agency versus these is the agency tends to be more focused on your product, help you brand it. Normally, and I'm not putting down these art departments like the newspaper or some of these places, they're kids right out of school and they're kind of their entry level positions, and so they're putting out volume. It's like you got to get these ads out done today, so they don't really have a lot of time to research that client and make sure they're being consistent with the look and all that. But you're right, these places, and that's not saying everyone has bad artists, but usually an ad agency can kind of give it a little slicker look and a little more professional look.
So how do you sell yourself? Because, then you have to go out and find your own clients, because, or else people are just gonna walk into these places and say, this is what I want, and there's your competition, of course.
Yep, and that's always been going on and always will be going on. The thing that helps me today is, today the website's real helpful too. I get calls all the time, hey, I saw you on the web, I liked your work. That's why I make sure I put product on the website. A lot of these agencies it's a lot of body copy and little cutesy clip art graphics, but it doesn't say anything. So I make sure I put actual work I've done for clients, and they go, I like that campaign, I know that person, I'll call them. Also, word of mouth. Somebody will say, hey, I was talking to so-and-so, he said you did that, can you help me? So when you've been in it long enough, it starts to take off. But if you're just getting started, you're like I did when I first went into that place. Sometimes you just find a client, you say, man, I saw your billboards. And you don't go in and say, man, they really stunk, I could do better than that. You don't want to insult them. But you say, I saw it, here's another idea I came up with. So you have to go out and sell yourself. And it's handing out business cards. It's, if I had not done those ads that day to take him with me to that meeting, it would have been a whole different story today, because he would have given me a speech he gave me, and I would have left there and he never would have thought of me again. But because I took the initiative and the time to lay out the ads before I went in there, and there have been times I've laid out an ad and they didn't want it, I never got to show it off, and I wasted my time. But if I had not have done that day, he would not have hired me, I would not have done that TV spot, and who would have known where I would have been today? So it's showing the initiative to get after it and get busy doing it. So that's, if you're saying, how would a new person get out there and do it? Get out there and beat the street, get a website built, get some business cards made, just start getting some work built up, and you just go call on people. And the best way to find new clients is a lot of times you look at bad advertising and say, I could do better than that, and contact that client. They may say, forget you, my granddaughter did that, how dare you insult me? Or they may say, well, I'm willing to look at what you got, show me what you got. Did that answer your question? Yes, ma'am.
So like when you do the commercials and you have like the music playing in the background, is it like original music you did or heard someone do, or is it like music that's like person and you just like put it in there without like copyright stuff?
Right, all of the above. Sometimes it's original music, sometimes it's provided, sometimes it's like if maybe GMC has a music they're running, or Subaru has certain, we can use that music bed under local client stuff. Sometimes it's just going to some of these websites I told you about, and you buy an actual music bed and it's licensed to you for a period of time, so you pay a fee and you've got the right to use that music underneath. Now, I'm not a musician, so I couldn't create anything myself that would sound worth a darn, so, but yeah, there's different sources to do it. One of the things I'll tell you, and I know we're running out of time, probably the most fun client I ever worked with and the best campaign I think we ever did years ago, and I've told this story so many times, but back in the 80s, 90s, even early 2000, there was a local Mexican food restaurant here, Santa Fe restaurant. Anybody old enough to even remember when Santa Fe was here? And we started doing a billboard campaign where we just had these little puns, nacho, our ordinary place, and it was just cartoon nacho, but it was killer beans, and it looked like these beans with wings. And we started doing these campaigns, just being fun, and they all had the same look, word treatment, and they just started taking off. And pretty soon We had people calling the restaurant saying, hey, can I get a copy of that? And I would have people call us at the agency. So which told me they called the client to figure out who we were, to call us, to tell us, I come in from out of town, or I do whatever, and I drive around town just to find those billboards. Do you know what that tells me about a campaign? That you're that invested, that you're gonna take time out of your day to drive around town to look for all the silly puns? And he had t-shirts, posters, whole bit of just, there was something in it for the client. There was that hook. Haven't we all watched that commercial and you hear it coming on the other room, you come running back in because there's this funny part where a kid trips and falls down or somebody says something you're thinking, that cracks me up every time I see it. There was something in it for you. So I love when you get to be part of a campaign where it really takes off and people enjoy being part of it. Any other questions?
I have a question. Oh, sorry, Ramon.
How many people work at your agency?
Today there's me and one other guy in there, and he's kind of doing his thing, I do my thing, and then we help each other out. It's to the point, I've got a handful of good clients, and I can handle them myself. And so I've done the art departments, had everybody work for me. I enjoy at this point just hiring things out. As a matter of fact, I live out in the country, and I just built a studio behind my house. And I'm thinking next couple of years I may just move my office out to there, because 95% of my business anymore is not even face-to-face, or when it is, I go meet the client at their office. And I think, why am I paying for an office downtown? Nobody ever sees it, nobody ever comes here. When people come in anymore, are homeless people go, hey, can I borrow some money? You know, that type of deal. So, but there are agencies here that have 10, 15 people. There are some that are just working out of the bedroom of their house. So it's all different sizes, but it really doesn't, you would be surprised sometimes to see the caliber of work and go, that one person did that out of their house. So it's just all over the place. You were going to ask something.
Yes. So you mentioned knowing Premiere. So what other types of software do you recommend these guys become literate in if they're not already?
Well, if they were going to have anything to do with production, I would say Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, all those things are very important in the graphic world and the production world. Premiere, that's all part of that Adobe too. Final Cut Pro, I used to work in Final Cut all the time.
Yeah.
And everybody goes, oh, you need to use Premiere. When you get comfortable using something, then it's like, and I finally went over to Premiere. Now I'm more comfortable in Premiere than I am in Final Cut. But learn these professional products and just learn to dabble in them if you're even creative at all. And especially right now, students, I think you can get them at a student rate. Because if you buy them like I pay for them, you know, you end up, I think I pay $50, $60 a month per computer to have it on.
Yeah.
And for a student, you can get it really cheap and just start playing with them.
I pay $17.
Yeah, man, I wish I could do that. Is that a month or a year?
That's a month.
A month.
Month, yeah. See, you can get that. And I think all those are available to you, all that Premiere, InDesign, Illustrator, all of it. So if you even have any enjoyment in working graphics or video, it's worth getting into and dabbling with.
Can you find like those effects on there you was talking about, like explosions and?
Some of it is, and some of it you can just go, and there's websites out there that are just all over, just type in, you know, stock footage, stock videos, stock photography. There are sites out there that sell it anywhere from $2 and $3 a photo to, you know, $50, $60 for different effects or video. You know, there's all kinds of sites out there.
Background noises.
Yeah, background noise, you name it, it's out there. And so it's like anything though, it's like I said a minute ago, I can go to Snap-on and buy all the tools I want. I can go buy all the graphics I want. I can buy everything. If I don't know what I'm doing, it's just, and we've all seen spots where they just overkill in effects and all this, and you don't even know what the product was when it's over. You're thinking, I don't know what they're selling. The spot was kind of interesting looking, but I don't know what they were selling. Anything else? Guys, it's been fun. I hope I've enlightened some of you. Maybe some of you are saying something I'd like to learn a little bit more about. Again, this was kind of a get a drink out of a fire hose moment. I'm all over the place, and probably you are too. Some of you are thinking, I just had to take this class. Some of you are thinking, now you've got me interested. You know, I hope if you're even halfway interested, this is, to me, a cool career to get into. It's fun, it's interesting, and it's constantly changing. And I really enjoyed it. So thank you guys for inviting me to come out. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.